Hello and a very good evening to Mehan. Today we would like to present to you about biography of Nelson Mandela. I know Amira binti Abdul Muttalib with the metric number 210511.
Hello everyone. My name is Nuri Zulaika binti Muhammad Zulkifli and my number metric is 211703.
Hi, my name is Nur Dalila Anisha binti Muhammad Shah and my metric number is 211504.
Hello, my name is Muhammad Aiman Rusdi. My metric number is 210486.
Okay. Today I will presenting about a little bit summary about history of admire leader that we choose, which is Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela is the first black president of South Africa in 1994 to 1999, and he has served as president for 6 years. And he was born on 18 July in 1918 in Mazif, at a small village in the Transkei region, southeastern South Africa. And he was found against apartheid, and dedicated for his life to promoting racial reconciliation and human rights. He also played a crucial role in South Africa's transition to democracy and is revered for his commitment to the justice and equality. So for the next slide, I will pass to the next presenter.
Thank you, Nuruddin. I will continue the presentation. Nelson Mandela's contribution and successes earned him numerous accolades, including the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993. He was widely regarded as a global symbol of resistance against oppression, racial inequality, and injustice. First, the greatest contribution and success by Nelson Mandela was as an activist in the anti-apartheid movement. He played a crucial role in mobilizing people and organizations advocating for equality and human rights for all South Africans, regardless of race. Mandela was a prominent leader in the struggle against apartheid, the system of racial segregation and discrimination enforced by the South African government. He joined the African National Congress, ANC, in the 1940s and became actively involved in the anti-apartheid movement. Second, he excelled in negotiation and transition to democracy. He played a central role in negotiating with the apartheid government, ultimately leading to the end of apartheid and the transition to democracy. Mandela's emphasis on reconciliation and his capacity to bring a divided country together were characteristics of his leadership during this time. Thus, his leadership and negotiating skills helped establish a democratic South Africa and dismantle the apartheid system. Third, Nelson Mandela became the first black president of South Africa through the country's first democratic elections in 1994. His dedication to racial harmony and his endeavors to mend apartheid traumas served as defining characteristic of his leadership. In 1995, he formed the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, TRC, which objectively were to investigate into and encourage reconciliation and forgiveness after apartheid era human rights atrocities. During his administration, he also prioritized eradicating poverty and advancing social justice. After years of racial separation, Mandela's leadership during this time was essential in bringing the country together. And lastly, he promoted human rights as a humanitarian effort. He established the Nelson Mandela Foundation, which prioritized social justice, health, rural development, and education. He also promoted HIV and AIDS education and care, attracting attention to the epidemic in South Africa. Mandela was a steadfast supporter of human rights both in South Africa and around the world. He put in a lot of effort to advance social justice, equality, and democracy, not only in his own nation, but also around the world. So I will pass to the next presenter to continue the presentation.
All right, thank you, Amira. Nelson Mandela faced numerous challenges throughout their life, shaped by the socio-political context of apartheid in South Africa and his role as a prominent anti-apartheid activist. Some of the key challenges that he encountered are as follows. Firstly, first-hand experience facing racism. Nelson Mandela was born into a world of inequality and racial segregation, where Black people were treated as second-class citizens and subjected to various forms of discriminations. While living in the big city of Johannesburg, Mandela began studying law at the University of the Witwatersrand, where he was the only Black African student and experienced discrimination. Other than that, in the South African general election in 1948, only whites were permitted to vote. These personal experiences of racism and witnessing the unjust treatment of Black people fueled Mandela's commitment to fight against apartheid and advocate for equality and justice. Secondly, violence towards anti-apartheid movements. The government employed various tactics to suppress opposition and maintain control, including police brutality, arbitrary arrest, torture, and even killings to suppress dissent and intimidate activists and their supporters. One of the notable incidents that exemplifies this is the Sharpeville massacre that occurred on March 21, 1960. Thousands of Black South Africans peacefully protested against the past laws, which required them to carry identification and restricted their movement. The police responded with excessive force, resulting in the deaths of 69 protesters and injuring many more. This tragic event sent shockwaves across the country and drew international attention to the brutality of the apartheid regime. These actions also created an environment of fear and made it difficult for the African National Congress, or ANC, and other anti-apartheid organizations to organize effectively. Thirdly, conflict within the movement. In the early years of the ANC's resistance against apartheid, the organization primarily employed non-violent strategies such as boycotts, strikes, protests, and civil disobedience. However, as the government responded with increasing repression and violence, some members within the ANC began advocating for armed resistance as a necessary response to the brutalities of the apartheid regime. Nelson Mandela, along with other ANC leaders, believed that peaceful methods alone were insufficient to bring about meaningful change and that armed struggle was a necessary component of the resistance. While there were ANC members who supported armed struggle, there were also those within the organization who opposed it. Some believed that the violence could lead to increased repression and alienate potential allies domestically and internationally. Others argued that non-violent resistance was morally superior and aligned with the ANC's principles. The divisions over the use of violence led to debates and disagreements within the ANC, and tensions arose between different factions. And lastly, Mandela's imprisonment. In 1962, Nelson Mandela was arrested by the South African authorities on charges of inciting workers' strike and leaving the country without a passport. His arrest was a significant blow to any anti-apartheid movement, as Mandela was not only a charismatic leader, but also a unifying figure for those fighting against the oppressive apartheid regime. The government sought to silence him and stifle the growing resistance. Following his arrest, Mandela faced the infamous Rivonia trial, named after the Johannesburg suburb, where the ANC leaders were arrested. The trial lasted from 1963 to 1964 and saw Mandela and other ANC leaders facing charges of sabotage, conspiracy to overthrow the government, and treason. Mandela's imprisonment was marked by harsh conditions and prolonged isolation. Initially held at Pretoria local prison, he was later transferred to the notorious Robben Island, where he spent the majority of his 27-year incarceration. On the island, he faced grueling physical labor, inadequate food, and limited access to medical care. Yet, even in such dire circumstances, Mandela maintained his resolve and even continued to inspire his fellow prisoners and activists beyond the prison walls. So that is all. I will pass to the next presenter.
Okay, thank you, Aiman. So now I will share about the key lesson that we have learned from Nelson Mandela. When discussing about inspiring leaders, there are several attributes that they possess that have earned them admiration. We could link the topics we learned in this subject, organizational behavior, such as leadership, communication, conflict management, and negotiation, to Nelson Mandela action to achieve the goals that he has set. The first topic is about leadership. Based on our analysis of Nelson Mandela background, he demonstrated that he is a transformational leader. In his leadership, Nelson Mandela showed his willingness to assist and guide people. For example, when at the University of Port Hare, Mandela spoke out against the university administration mistreatment of indigenous African students. Mandela advocated against the exclusion of Africans from the selection of student representatives. Despite being dismissed from university, Mandela was still able to assist his fellow indigenous Africans and fight for democracy in a non-violent manner. He additionally led an example by joining the African National Congress, ANC. He motivated others to follow his footsteps and fight for equal rights. Furthermore, the leader and the vision are inextricably linked. A great leader must have a clear vision in order to know what they want to accomplish. And yes, Nelson Mandela had this trait. He had the foresight to bring the apartheid regime to an end. His vision included not just the abolition of apartheid, but also the creation of South Africa of equality, togetherness, and prosperity in the future. His decisiveness and risk-taking attitude may be followed particularly by organizational leaders, as leaders who are willing to take calculated risks can help their organization grasp opportunities and stay competitive. Next is about communication. We know that Nelson Mandela delivered a powerful message. He was also always tough and constant in conveying his message as a representation of his ideals and aim to end apartheid. Although being imprisoned for 27 years and having to do hard labor, he continues to write letters, draft statements, and speeches in order to interact with the outside world. Mandela was able to develop his message and communication style as a result of his constant attention on clear and persuasive communication. The things he said were usually carefully planned to appeal to individuals of various backgrounds and to create a feeling of togetherness and optimism. In an organization, persuasion can either benefit or harm, but if the leader can use it to their advantage, it will encourage the employee to take action and accomplish their goals. And also, communication in organizational behavior is not just about conveying message, but also about listening. Nelson Mandela has the ability to listen attentively. He was well known for his tremendous empathy and compassion for others, which allowed him to make connection with individuals personally. Mandela, for example, established the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, TRC, with the objective of inspiring forgiveness and providing a place for victims and perpetrators to share their stories and seek healing. This may be implemented in an organization where leaders actively listen to and value their employee contribution to develop a sense of shared responsibility, teamwork, and respect. And lastly, when a leader has mastered communication skills, they will be able to handle conflicts and negotiate. This is what Nelson Mandela has managed to do. His involvement in negotiating the end of apartheid and the transition to a democratic South Africa was one of example of his remarkable conflict and negotiation abilities. Throughout throughout the discussion, Mandela proved his ability to listen to all points of view and comprehend the concern of all parties involved. He was capable at identifying common ground and promoting dialogue that resulted in a mutually beneficial agreement. This approach also plays an essential role in organizational behavior because leaders who build an atmosphere that encourages collaboration may inspire employees to cooperate in achieving shared goals. When negotiating with people, one must have a high level of emotional intelligence. Nelson Mandela emotional intelligence enabled him to remain calm and focused throughout grueling negotiations to end the apartheid, despite facing strong opposition from the government. As a consequence, the negotiation was successful. This demonstrated that those who can effectively regulate their emotions can manage challenging situations and develop stronger relationships. That's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Okay, thank you, Dalila. I will conclude the presentation. Firstly, Nelson Mandela is a remarkable leader because he led South Africa out of apartheid after a prolonged battle against by the National Party. Second, he also committed for himself to securing equal rights for all the people and regardless of race. And he also persevered in achieving his objective despite the unstable and uncertain surroundings. Thirdly, he also rehonored to supporting non-violence protests and also the goal of a democratic society in which all persons live together in a harmony and also with equal opportunities. And lastly, Mandela also persuade the ANC leadership by use force when non-violent method fail. He oversaw the ANC's army as a spear of the nation. So I think that's all for our presentation. So we will continue about individual reflection. I will pass to Aiman.
Okay, thank you, Noreen. So based on my observation, in my opinion, Nelson Mandela's journey is a remarkable testament to the power of the human spirit and the transformative potential of individuals dedicated to justice, equality, and freedom. From his early days as a young activist to becoming a revered global symbol of peace and reconciliation, Mandela's life was a profound embodiment of the values he championed. Mandela's unwavering commitment to the fight against apartheid stands as an example of extraordinary courage and resilience. Despite enduring imprisonment for nearly 3 decades, he never wavered in his pursuit of a free and democratic South Africa. His time in prison only strengthened his resolve, and he emerged as a unifying figurehead, a symbol of hope and inspiration for his nation and the world. One of the most significant lessons from Mandela's journey is his capacity for forgiveness and reconciliation. Rather than seeking vengeance or perpetuating a cycle of violence, he chose the path of forgiveness, seeking to heal the wounds of the past and forge a united and inclusive future for South Africa. His ability to transcend bitterness and extend a hand of friendship to those who had oppressed him is a testament to his extraordinary humanity and moral leadership. In reflecting on Nelson Mandela's journey, we are reminded of the indomitable spirit of the human soul and the capacity of individuals to create lasting change. His legacy serves as an enduring source of inspiration, urging us to stand up against injustice, promote reconciliation and forgiveness, embrace diversity, and work tirelessly for a more just and equitable world. Mandela's journey reminds us that each of us had the power to make a difference and that in unity, we can overcome even the most formidable challenges. That is all from me. I'll pass to Amira.
Thank you, Aiman. Okay, in my opinion, Nelson Mandela is remarkable figure in history with his ability to articulate his vision, connect with people on a personal level, and navigate complex political landscapes. After finishing this assignment, I can understand organization behavior more deeply when learning about this prominent figure. I have gained valuable insights and knowledge that I believe will greatly benefit me in the future. There are several takeaways from this course and how they will shape my action and behavior going forward in the future. One of the critical lessons I learned is the significance of self-awareness in understanding my own strengths, weaknesses, and behavioral patterns. By recognizing and acknowledging this aspect of myself, I can leverage my strengths and works on areas that require improvement. This self-awareness will allow me to make better decisions, manage my emotion effectively, and improve my relationship with others in future organizational settings. Mandela's self-awareness allowed him to remain steadfast in his principle and belief even during difficult times. He had a clear sense of purpose, which was to fight against apartheid and promote equality and justice in South Africa. Second, effective communication skill is a fundamental aspect of organizational behavior, and this course emphasizes its significance in achieving organizational success. I have learned various communication techniques, including active listening, nonverbal cues, and assertiveness. This skill will be invaluable in my future interaction with colleagues, superior, and subordinate. For example, and for this assignment, Nelson Mandela has a remarkable talent for conveying his ideas and vision in a way that resonates with others, using his words to promote reconciliation, understanding, and unity. Third, understanding the different theories and approaches to leadership and motivation has provided me with a broader perspective on how to inspire and guide others. I now recognize that leadership is not confined to a particular role or position. It is a set of skill and behavior that can be developed and applied in various contexts. In conclusion, the organizational behavior course has provided me with a solid foundation for understanding individual and group behavior within organization. The knowledge and skill I have acquired will undoubtedly shape my action and behavior in the future. That's all for me. I will pass to Dalila.
Thank you, Amira. So as for me, after learning organizational behavior for about 14 weeks this semester, I believe that it has broadened my view on individual behavior in organizational context. I discovered that attitudes and personality are critical for maintaining positive relationship in the workplace. I have also taken the Myers-Briggs and Big Five personality test. From that path, I was able to understand more about myself and where I might improve to become a better person. I also realized that we will undoubtedly engage with others while working. So having a high level of emotional intelligence is also crucial in this case. High emotional intelligence can help me be more productive and efficient at work. Hence, employees and managers may learn about what motivates an individual to act in certain way by learning organizational behavior. I think this knowledge will surely help me improve my job satisfaction and job performance in the future. And another important insight from learning organizational behavior is the importance of communication skills. Personally, I am aware that my communication skills are a bit lacking. I know what I want to say in my head, but I'm not sure how to make it clear to others. Fortunately, I now understand how to communicate effectively after learning about it in the class. I learned that my message must be straightforward and simple, but also expressive, like what Nelson Mandela has shown. Last but, last but not least, organizational behavior subject has helped me to figure out who I am as a leader and how to become a better leader. I'm hoping to apply everything I have learned to when I start working in the future. This subject has undoubtedly transformed me into a better version of myself. That's all I have to say. I will pass to Noreen.
Okay. For my opinion, I think Nelson Mandela is a great leader because he has sacrificed a lot of for his countries, his faith, and also his religion. So we also know that to be the president of a country has a hard responsibility that someone should shoulder as well. So he has proven to us that with his leadership, he has to change a lot of aspects, such as securing equal rights for all the people, and also he persevered in the achieving his objective despite and the unstable and also uncertain surrounding. So lastly, I think his leadership can be used as a good aspiration for all of us to fight to uphold the justice and also independence for our country. So I think that's all for us. Thank you.
That's all from us. Thank you for your attention.